John, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm grateful.
Yeah, I was just telling you, we have had a lot of your buds on the show. We've had Christy Wright a couple of times. We've had Ken Coleman, and so I'm excited to chat with you. This is our first conversation, and we get to talk all about your new book, Own Your Past, Change Your Future. I just think this is such a powerful message for this time, especially. And I always love when I get to talk with authors, and I'm an author myself, hearing that story of how this book came to be. I think that's really important because we as people who don't write books, stare at books on shelves and have no idea that there's years of work that goes into this product that you hold in your hands, right? And so I would just love to hear kind of the backstory behind this message.
I mean, it is 10 years in the making.
Okay.
It's a story of me having it all together and solving everything. And there's a million of those stories where it all falls apart and then we solve whatever.
Yeah.
This book is different. My life never fell apart. I didn't end up in rehab and I didn't burn anything down. I didn't go to jail. I had this low level burn this low level hum of anxiety, this low level hum of things aren't the way they're supposed to be. And it began to rattle and shake. And I didn't know what mental health was, even though I worked in that profession. I knew about what it was intellectually. I knew how to help other people. I didn't know what it was in my own body. And I didn't know what being well was. I knew you got on a track and you took out this many student loans and you got this many fancy degrees and this is where you worked and this is what you did and you tried to have kids, and if you couldn't, you did seances or whatever and did all the medical stuff, and then I thought this just was a track, and I didn't know how plugged in I was to the wrong way to be whole. And so the book, there's a million brilliant, beautiful, wonderful, quote unquote, mental health books that teach us things. What was important for me in this book was I didn't want to talk at people. I wanted to talk with people. And so this is my story. This is your story. I wrote this book to take all 2 PhDs and 20 years worth of stuff into, man, I'm just an exhausted single mom and I don't know what to do. Or I've been married for 8 years. I've got 2 kids and I'm 2 inches apart and 2,000 miles away from my husband. I love him, but I'm lonely in my bed, right? And so the book is we're just going to walk alongside together. It was hard, man. It was hard to come back to some of those stories I'd moved past. I had to remember some things that I should have stayed buried, and it was a tough season, but here we are.
Yeah, it's crazy the work God will do in us as we work through those things in order to encourage other people. That's so awesome that he's done that in you in the writing of this book. And I'm wondering, for the girl that's listening today, most of our audience is female, who feels that sort of steady hum of anxiety that you're talking about and just feels like that's normal, or maybe that's all she's known of her normal. Where would you want to encourage her to start? What would you encourage her to take steps towards when she feels like, well, Rebecca, John, this is my life. This is what I know. I don't really know life apart from or above that cloud of anxiety. Where would you encourage her to start?
It's important to note that all anxiety is just an alarm system. It's a smoke alarm in your kitchen. And we've got a whole ecosystem from medicine, which I've used and is super helpful. So I'm not anti, but from medicine to all sorts of shame and you're this and special workout programs and special diet. All anxiety is an alarm in your kitchen letting you know that your house is on fire. And the fire is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of you're disconnected, you're lonely, your body is trying to get your attention that you're not safe because you don't have other people with you, underneath you, and in your corner. Or it's ringing off the wall because you're not safe. You're in an abusive relationship. Your body remembers this feeling, these stories of an unsafe marriage you're in, an unsafe person you're dating, because it went through this when you were a little girl. It remembers this story. It remembers your mom's boyfriend. It remembers your dad on Sunday afternoons when everybody knew, don't get around dad on Sunday afternoons. or when dad's had a drink, everybody, it remembers that story and it's just replaying it again. And so we think, oh, I'm anxious. I've got this thing. How do I solve this? And really that's like duct taping over the lights on your dashboard. Why would you do that, right? And the third thing it will do is it will let you know that you're in a situation where you don't have control, where you're not autonomous as the nerd word. And good grief, look at the last few years. None of us have had control of anything. We whatever illusion we created, it's gone. A war can kick off tomorrow. A pandemic can kick off tomorrow. And so we're untethered right now because for the last 20, 30, 40 years, we've bought into a myth that we solved all of these problems. And now we're all about actualizing ourselves and making the great. And there's been a hard reminder that we control very, very little about anything, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're not feeling anxious right now, you may want to go see a doctor, right? Because that's what the alarm is for. But most of us spend our energy trying to figure out how to take the batteries out of the smoke alarm. And really what I want people to do is go out in the yard and see where their house is burning. And let's address that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so on a practical level, it's often asking yourself, where is my body trying to protect me? When my husband comes home late and he comes in pretty hot and I hear the car pull in the driveway and my heart starts beating fast, what is my body trying to alert me to? What is it nervous about? And if I'm unsafe in my own house, I can build a world around that I'm going to pass on to my daughters and to my sons, and they're going to pass it on to their kids. Or I can say, this stops with me. And how do I then be about being well so that I deserve somebody when the car pulls in the driveway, my heart speeds up because I can't wait to hug that person, not be scared of that person. If my kids make me, if I feel disconnected from my children, right, I want to pick up some tools to lean into that. I'm not going to run from that, right? So it's listening to our bodies. We just have a world that has said, don't stop listening to your body. We'll tell you. I got a friend, she's got an awesome water bottle that tells her when to drink.
I have one of those too. They're amazing. Yeah. And it gives you
outsourced thirst, right?
Yeah, it's neat. It gives you like the time of day when you should have drank that much of the bottle, and you have to fill it up, I think, twice to get to, I forget, a gallon.
And when we were kids,
we had
this incredible thing that told us when to drink water, and it was called being thirsty. It was awesome. Yeah. Right? That's what we used. And so we just so we outsourced everything. We become so disconnected from our bodies. And so somebody's got that low level hum of anxiety. Man, go back to your body. What is your body trying to tell you? When does it speed up? When does your stomach drop? And let's start there.
Hey friends, quick break in this conversation to remind you of something. If you are loving the show, you're loving the conversations we're having, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would leave a rating and a written review on Apple Podcasts for Radical Radiance. When that happens, when more of those happen, the show gets put in front of more women, and in turn, it allows them the opportunity to take part in conversations that will show them more about what it looks like to radiate the heart of Jesus. And I can't think of anything better than that. So it would mean the world to me if you would take just 2 minutes of your time and leave a rating and a written review. I'd love to hear what you think. Now, let's get back to the conversation. Yeah, that's so good. I love that advice. Okay, you have mentioned loneliness a time or two in our conversation so far, and that's something that I think is so important to talk about right now. You make a statement in the book that says, we have 1,000 Facebook friends, but nobody to help us move our couch. What a powerful statement. And why do you think this is right now? And how can we take steps forward to be better at seeking community and accepting help and being a part of each other's lives? What does that look like right now?
I think we could trace back where it came from. It's 1,000 things. It is that we used to all have tents and tribes, and we went to stable homes with front porches, and then we went to back porches. And it took a special person to not just walk by the street and wave and stop and talk, but to come through our home to the back porch. And then we just closed the porches up. And then we used to go to the cinema, and we used to go to the cinema because I'm 1800s. We used to go to the movies, and right. And we used to. we've just begun to solve for comfort. And I
Yeah.
love solving for comfort because I love microwaves and I love leather chairs and I love air conditioning and I love heaters. And now the latest, coolest science, you know what they have? Cold tubs and saunas. We used to have this awesome thing called weather that made us hot and cold, but now we can buy a special device and put it in our garage. And
Hmm.
we've just created a world that's become more and more insular. We keep solving for comfort and solving for comfort. And when we do that, we unintentionally have solved also for discomfort. Why
Mm.
that's important is we pathologize normal things like being sad, like disagreements, like getting angry with somebody, and then reconciling. And reconciliation is hard and messy.
Hmm.
And why in the world would I reconcile with a real person when I can just block you and move on with my day?
Yeah.
Why would I
Hmm.
do that when I can go to the internet and it will be whatever I want it to be? And
Hmm.
he or she will tell me whatever I want to hear. Why would I? So we've just have this, it's all the things all at once, ecological and architectural. And then you
Yeah.
throw social media on it and you throw headphones in. And now I don't even have to go to the movies. They just pipe them into my house. And I don't
Mm.
have to fix my relationship with my wife because there's 100 million other women on my cell phone that I can talk
Hmm.
to. Like, why would I do this? So it's
Hmm.
everything all at once. And all of a sudden overnight, we're not going to church anymore. We're just streaming it. We're not going to,
Yeah.
we're not doing anything in person except to be angry together. We are going to be in person to be angry. And our bodies have realized we have nobody.
Yeah.
The literature on loneliness is terrifying.
Yeah.
And like most people don't have somebody to call at 2 a.m. to come
Yeah.
to watch their kids while they take their husband to the ER. They don't have it.
Yeah.
I got nobody. And our body keeps that score, to quote Van der Kolk. Think about this. Think about 1,000 years ago. If you and your family lived on the plains of Nebraska and you woke up in the morning and your family and your tribe had left you, you were probably going to die. Like, right? So you
Yeah.
weren't going to make it from exposure or from lack of food and water or from the wolves are going to get you, whatever. And so fast forward, it's the same body. Our bodies were
Hmm.
designed to be in relationship and face-to-face communication. They co-regulate, and there's a bunch of science and neuroscience and stuff like that about this. They're designed to be in relationship and connection.
Hmm.
And you can transmit info over the internet, over our phones, but you cannot connect. And
Yeah.
so we're getting a lot of info. I know a lot about my sister and my brother and their dogs and whatever, but man, I miss them. Right. And that's just where we find
Yeah.
ourselves. So I think the blame
Yeah.
part of that, the who's at fault, I'm done with that conversation. It's not helpful. I think now it's about what do we
Yeah.
do now?
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's just stopping and being intentional to stop that cycle, right? Like we don't borrow a cup of sugar, we just go to the grocery store. We don't you
Now it
gave a
just
lot
gets
of
delivered.
examples
We'll
as well.
just deliver it to
Oh yeah, exactly. Exactly.
them.
And so yeah, we've just created these echo chambers where we don't have to connect with anybody, and the pandemic I think made it worse. But I think there are moments where we can just say, I'm going to call a friend. And even if this has to start with me, I'll be the intentional one, right? Right before the pandemic, I got married my husband, moved 9 hours away from everything I've ever known, right before a global pandemic hit. So all my life has been for the last 3 years has been changed,
Here, here.
right?
Yeah, way to go.
And yeah. And so, but one of the things I've learned in friendship is we so often want the other person to be the initiator, right? Like
Yeah.
we want to be pursued. We were wired to desire that, right? And sometimes we just have to own that ourselves for a while, right? And be okay with that. And
I think we always do.
yeah, I do
I think
too.
we've got to take a risk.
Yeah.
And if you have trauma in your history, and trauma can be either things that happen to you, whether it's abuse or whether it's other evils like that, or abuse can be neglect. Somebody should have
Yeah.
told you they loved you. Somebody should have got down on their knees and eye to eye with you when you were 4 and said, "I'm so glad you're a part of this family." And then
Mm,
you felt it. If none of those things happen, if you have trauma through relationships, then man, risking to ask somebody out, rejection isn't a cognitive thing, it's a body thing. It will ripple through through your blood, right? And so when we say risk, man, we're asking people to overcome all their body says relationships will hurt us. Stay away. Use these other coping strategies to get in the way. So if you got trauma, man, asking somebody to risk is hard, but at the end of the day, that's what we got to do. You have to take that risk and say, I'm worth being loved. I'm worth having people around. And if people say no to my invitation, that's their choice. That's their thing. It's not a reflection of me. And then I'm going to go about my day and keep risking and keep going for it.
Yeah, that's so good. Okay, speaking of trauma, you talk in the book about the different types of trauma we experience. So big T trauma, little t trauma. I would love for you to explain the difference in the two so that people can begin to think about, okay, where might that have been a part of my past, and help them process that a little bit.
So trauma is, simply put, it's when what's going on exceeds our body's capacity to absorb it. And trauma is different for everybody. And for some people, getting yelled and screamed at, that doesn't bother me. Okay, that's fine. For some other people, it sets off a part of their fight or flight response that will shut their body down. Or it will send them into a rage, or it will send them into I'm going to hide and disappear. I'm going to gain 100 pounds, or I'm going to lose 100 pounds. You will never see the real me again. I'm out of here. Or they'll freeze. They'll just shut down. Or they'll fawn and they'll cuddle up next to the person who's hurt, right? So you've got this body that's responding to these things. In big T trauma, I think the best analogy is thinking about bricks in a backpack. We all carry a backpack around with us. Big T bricks, those are the big cinder blocks. That's the car wreck. That's mom passed away. That's the divorce. Those are the big ones. The little T trauma is you're 11 and you walk downstairs and you're about to go to school and your mom's making breakfast and she's kind, she's trying, she's got her own stories that she's dealing with. And she looks at you and says, oh, honey, that shirt makes you look so pudgy. And we want the boys to like us, right? And you're 11 and you're like, yeah. And she says, let's go change that shirt. Boys like girls who are pretty. Let's go change that shirt. And you're 11, you go, okay, mom. And now the cycle started. So that may not be a cinder block, but it's a pebble. And if you think about that weight in your backpack, over time, that pebble every day, mom going, oh, honey, let's fix your hair. Oh, we don't wear shoes like that. Oh, he is not going to like you when you talk like that. That's a pebble, that's a pebble, that's a pebble, that's a pebble. And over time, the weight of that backpack is the same. Because now every time I meet a boy, my body says, you don't belong here. And it sets off the fight or flight chemicals, the cortisol and adrenaline, the fear response, as though that little boy or that husband that I've been married to for 10 years, who just made one comment, and he was trying to be funny when I got out of the shower, and for some reason it lodged itself in my soul. And now my body is 11 again, and it is at war because my husband's now a bear. And I've got to fight that bear or run from that bear or hide. And that will ripple through us forever. And so it could be the big thing. It could be the little things over time. Here's a big one that I'm guilty of. Just sitting there scrolling my stupid phone. Yeah. And my 6-year-old daughter is saying, hey, Daddy, look. Hey, look at this. And I'm looking and scrolling. And I'm going, uh-huh. Wow. And she's saying, Dad, look, you're not looking. And I'm like, I saw it. It's great. It's beautiful. And what she is learning innately, and I say innately, she's learning this biochemically, physiologically, that little digital box has something that she doesn't have that holds my attention. Yeah. And she doesn't know how to say, Dad, you're being lame. She just knows that there are other things in the world Dad loves more than me. And she will spend the rest of her life trying to be more lovable so that never happens again. And that could be getting straight A's. That could be burning something to the ground so I'll pay attention to her. That could be finding love from this guy and that guy and that guy and that, whatever that looks like. But she will chase that story because it never occurs to her that I'm the bad guy here. Yeah. 6-year-olds say, I'm the bad guy, right? So these stories stay with us. And so often people say, I've never had experienced trauma. Most of us have. Most of us have.
Yeah.
Particularly women have. The world is set up in a traumatizing way. And so all I have to say is we carry these things with us through life, and then we think when we're 30 and we have 2 kids, we don't know what day it is because we're so tired, and our husband's working hard too, but God, he's annoying, and he keeps pawing at me like, and we get here, and we think that it's our back that hurts, or our knees that hurt, or that I have headaches all the time, or that it's just the way this is. And my challenge to folks is to take that backpack off and to look at those bricks, and let's start pulling the strings on those stories, and let's start setting those bricks down so we can be about a different life.
Yeah, that's so good. And on that note, you split the book into 2 sections. So they're called The Stories Are the Problem and The Stories Are the Solution. And I would love for you to talk about that concept a little bit with listeners.
So we've basically been given 2 paths forward in life. And one of them is you are your feelings. Your voice is everything. Your voice is the only thing. You are the worst thing that ever happened to you. You are a survivor of fill in the blank. That's who you are. That's all you'll ever be. You are your diagnosis. You are your thing. That's path 1 that we've been given. And we can see in popular culture the end result of that path, which is, well, these are my feelings, and so this is my truth, and I'm going to invent truth as we go. I'm just going to keep making it. Our country owes something like $30 trillion. Why? We'll just feel like we can print some more, because the reality of math hasn't caught up with us yet. It will, and it will be like throwing the car into reverse on the highway. It will. It just hasn't yet, right? So we're making up our own truth as we go. The other path we've been given is crush it, grind it, kill it. If you have feelings, you're weak. You have a character issue. And you need to suck it up and get over yourself and then move on. And so in this book, I'm proposing a new 3rd way, which is the stories are the problem. The stories you were born into, the ones that told you, hey, God loves you and he's your best friend. Or some of you were told, God is watching you. He has cast a shadow over you, and if you screw this up, he will torture you and maim you for eternity, forever. Little 7-year-old girl, now go live a good life. Be good, make good choices, don't smoke cigarettes, right? And we put that on our kids, right? So we have these stories we're born into. This is the only way to do Christmas. This is how we brush our teeth. We're not people who drive those cars. We're not fancy pants like them. We don't spend money like that, or we don't drive crummy cars like that. We drive nice cars in whatever stories you're born into. And then you have the stories you were told. This is what women do. This is how you're supposed to look. This is how you treat men. This is how you treat your girlfriends. This is how, right? So these stories we were told. And when you're a kid, you just say, okay, yes, ma'am, or yes, sir. And you internalize these as ways of being. And over time, it might be, hey, you do this, and this is the way this happened, this is the way this happens. The meta message is how you think about the world and what you want doesn't matter, because this stuff is cast in stone, and this is the way this is. And you end up, when you're 35, and somebody says, hey, I've identified you as a pretty extraordinary member of our team. I want to give you a big promotion, and I need you to know what's going to cost me. I want to pay you well, and I want to figure out ways that we can support your family too. And your first thought is, I'm not vice president kind of person because of the story I was born into. Or you screw something up. You do something, you make bad choices like we all do. And then you go back to that story of God and you say, oh, I'm done now. And this is over for me, right? I've put a period at the end of that sentence. And so you have to, the stories are the problem. We're just all running scripts. And the challenge is we get to this point and says, yes, I had cancer. Yes, I was assaulted. Yes, these awful things happened to me. Yes, I did awful things. I stole and I lied and I hurt people. I did those things. And they brought us to here. And the hardest, most challenging question any of us can ask is, so what do I do next?
Yeah.
And writing new stories saying, I am going to create a new identity. I am going to begin to believe. I'm going to begin to look in the mirror and say, you are worth being loved. You're somebody of value, and you're worth not having your heart beat out of your chest when your husband comes home. You're worth not being disconnected from your kids. You're worth not being exhausted all the time. You're worth all those things. And here's the steps to get there. Here's how we're going to get there. And it's that asking that question, what do I do next?
Yeah, that's so good. I'm even thinking of, and I know my husband wouldn't mind me sharing this because we've talked about this on the show before. One of the most powerful things.
Yes, let's hear these stories.
No, it's been so helpful to us. We took this questionnaire thing in our premarital counseling where it compared our stories of like our families of origin, and it plotted the differences in the two on a whole host of different things. I forget the name of the assessment, but I thought it was brilliant, and it has been one of the most helpful things in our marriage. And there have been multiple things that we've come back to in the first several years of our marriage where we'll say, you remember what that assessment said about how that was handled in your home? Or do you remember how that assessment said that that's how this was handled? For instance, I love having dinner ready and on the table when he walks in the door because my mom did that every single day of my childhood and worked part-time out of the home, but lived a totally different life than I'm living as a wife. And so inadvertently, I came into marriage with this expectation that that's just what you do as a wife, right? You have dinner on the table when your husband walks in the door. And so I walk into this season, I'm writing my first book right now, and just the last couple of years have just brought so many open doors and awesome things. However, life has just been crazy. And I remember the day my husband finally looked at me and said, Rebecca, you don't have to have dinner on the table when I walk in the door. Like, I don't expect that of you. And I think you expect that of yourself because your mom did that. But that's just a small example. I mean, that's not even a big major thing, but looking back at the stories that we've lived, even in our childhood, lead to so many sometimes false expectations when we walk into marriage. And it's so interesting to work through that, you know?
Where you have come is beautiful. I love that, recognizing, I just had a picture of what mom and wife looked like. And but I also have gotten a new picture over the last 20 or 30 years of author and speaker and radio host, and I'm a lawyer now too. By the way, I also am a heart surgeon on the weekend. Like, whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
But that other picture of what wife and mother looks like is continuing to roll into our minds. And so we try to do it all, and it's impossible. The magic moment will come. So I think the stories are the moments of recognition. Yeah. Those are the ahas. The moment of transformation comes when you say, here's what I need. And it's less about the assessment. I think are great for, especially for newlyweds or for couples who are trying to pick up the pieces, because it gives the couple a touchstone, like a common enemy. Like,
it's
hey,
language
the assessment
too, right?
The assessment said that you handle problems like this, and I just want to remind you, where the power comes back to an individual and to the couple is when they can say, I don't like you talking to me that way. When I owned this, there's a level of transformation there that we agreed that you're not going to talk like that in this home. And I feel uncomfortable now, so I'm going to take a 5-minute break, and then I'm going to rejoin our union here to this conversation, right? So there's this, I love that touchstone that says, it's a great identifier. It's a magnifying glass. It's beautiful. And then it leads to this moment of your husband has given you, what a saint of a guy that is, to say, hey, I don't expect this. You're holding yourself to a high standard. The next is, well, then what do I want this to look like in this season? And it's going to change next season. It's going to change next season. But in this season, what does this look like? This is from she's not a Christian, but I think she's got a remarkably wise family therapist named Esther Perel, and she says something phenomenal. She said, most adults, and she studied relationships internationally, she said most adults have 2 to 3 to 4 great loves in their lifetime. And if you work really, really hard, they're with the same person. And that was the most extraordinary language, because I'm not who I was when I was 24 and I got married. And I'm especially not who I was when I was 35, 36, 37. That guy was an idiot. an idiot. And now I'm learning again, right? And I'm sure that when I turn 60, if I make it that long, I'll look back and go, oh my gosh, 40-year-old John was a moron, right? So it's this constant, where are we now and who are we now? And here's what I need in this season so that I can show up and give you everything that you need in this season. And by the way, what is that stuff? And that just goes in a circle, in a loop. And I love that. But that starts with those stories, right? The recognition of, oh, I see what's going on here.
Yeah. I love that. That's so good. Okay, so there is a question that I ask all my guests that come on the show. I'm so excited to ask you, John. The podcast is called Radical Radiance, with a heart to really help women see what does it look like for us to radiate the heart of Christ in all that we do. It's sort of with that emphasis on Psalm 34, verse 5. It says, those who look to him are radiant and their faces are never covered in shame. And so the question I love asking is, John, what about Jesus makes you radiant?
Ooh. So I'm going to double back to one of my favorite theological quotes of all time.
Okay.
And it is from Rich Mullins, and I'll butcher it a little bit, but ultimately it was, as Christians, we so often over-spiritualize Jesus. And here's what I mean. Here's where that's important for me. I grew up in a faith-based home. My dad, he was a homicide detective and a SWAT hostage negotiator. He was an awesome dude, and then he switched halfway through my life to be a minister at a giant church in Houston.
What a life!
So,
also,
my life's gangster, dude. It's wild. It's fun. Actually, I'm the least gangster. I said that wrong. There could not be. I drove a Prius until I wrecked it the other day. I'm not a gangster. But my life has been wild. Let me put it that way. So I went to a faith-based university. I've worked at faith-based universities. I've hung out with theologians my whole life, especially when I was working at universities. Some of the most extraordinary minds in the world. And I completely and totally, with a period at the end of the sentence, lost all of my faith. Because the intellectual gas runs out. It just does.
Yeah.
It runs out. And when I started working with police officers in the middle of the night, so I was the dean of students at a law school in Texas, and in the middle of the night, I was a part of a team just called the Victim Support Services, the crisis response team. And we would show up in the middle of the night. I would just get a text on my phone, and it would just say 1087, which is a police code for someone who's passed away, and an address. That's it. And you just show up. I don't know what you're going to get. It could be a 2-year-old, and you're hugging a mother, or it could be a 98-year-old who's just passed away in their sleep. And that experience, those years doing that, showing up in the middle of the night, those moments were holy. There were very, very few words spoken. And Jesus was there. And that's what brought me back. And so when I go look in Scripture, when I look at the life of Jesus across the 4 Gospels, and I look for all the things he says to do and not do, I can make a chart and a graph that can lay that out for me.
Sure.
But when I see who he just kept showing up with, the politicians said, don't be with those people, you can better believe that's where you're going to find Jesus. When the church leaders said, don't hang out with those people, you better believe that's where Jesus was. Over and over, to the point they killed him. Yeah. And so for me, the most radiant thing is his dirty feet, who he kept sitting down with, who he kept hanging out with. And I just have pictures of the laughter and the silliness and the poking back and forth that was going on at those tables that he, quote unquote, wasn't supposed to be at. That to me is the most radiant thing. And so how that applies in my life, and I'm trying to pass on to my kids, show up. You just show up. And good grief, man, everybody is welcome in my home at my table. And my kids get that. And that's just a core mission for me and my wife. Everyone is welcome in our home, because that's just the way I see Jesus doing it. I don't care who you vote for. I don't care. You are welcome in my home. And that, to me, is the most beautiful radiance of Jesus.
That's so good. I love it. Okay, so for our friends who have met you in this conversation and they want to go grab the book, they can grab it anywhere, but I want you to share with them how can they connect with you and all that beyond this conversation.
Awesome. Let me say this about the book. It is,
say it.
A lot of these conversations, we end up talking about trauma and heavy stuff. It's a book of hope.
It really is.
It's a book of ends with the flashlight in the dark, and then all of a sudden the lights are on. And so, if you're thinking I can't handle a trauma book, I can't either. So it's not for you. Right? is a book about light and how to take your next step. So I'm excited about it. You can go to johndeloney.com, or you can go to ramseysolutions.com, which is my mothership, and pick it up there. Looking forward. And you can follow me on the internets at John Deloney. I don't really know how that stuff works still, but I'm still figuring it out. But it's a lot of fun.
Awesome. Good deal. Well, John, I'm so grateful for you and grateful for this message and what God's going to do through it. So thank you again for being my guest today.
Thank you for putting positive, good stuff out into the world. I'm grateful for you.
I hope you enjoyed